Today I've got the Thrunite TW10 weapons mounted light. This is a gun light. I reviewed a bunch of different gun lights before, and I would say this is probably more of the budget category of them. It goes for $55.95 on Amazon. I'll put some links down below. You can check that out. It has some nice features and it has a little bit of drawbacks, which I'll cover. It comes in both black and desert tan. This is the Black Scout Survival Edition. And let's just go over the construction of it, and then I'll talk about some of the features of it. So up in the front there is an OSRAM P9 LED, and you can see that that lens has that honeycomb pattern, and that's going to give this light a very broad beam. It's going to bounce the light off all those little sort of nooks and crannies there, that little honeycomb pattern. It's going to give it a very broad beam. So it's not a focus beam, very broad beam. The battery is on the inside right there. You take the head off, and in there comes with a Thrunite 18350 battery. You can see it right in there. And then the positive side of the battery goes down into the light that way. Screw that back on. It does come with some extra accessories. It comes with some extra O-rings, some extra screws for the rail mount here, and it does come with an extra mount. So it comes standard with the Glock mount, and then it also comes with a 1911 mount that you can swap out. It also comes with an extra covering for the back where you charge it in case that falls off, and then it comes with a USB-C cable that you use to charge it. Moving on to the back, it is where you charge it like I mentioned. This opens up and you put the USB-C cable in there. As it's charging, it will flash red if it's 1 to 10%. It will be solid red if it's 11 to 20% charged, and blue 21 to 100% charged. Also, when you turn it on, you can see that the blue light comes on there, and that will give you a charge indicator as you're using it. To mount it, you loosen the screw on the side here, and then that piece just pushes over. You can see right there when you go to mount it. And you put it on onto the rail, and then you can hand tighten it down. And nice and stable there. You can see it's definitely a larger light. It's going to stick out of the front of the gun there. You know, this is a large gun. It's a full-size M&P, but it does still stick out some. So if you're shooting this a lot, you are going to get some residue on the light there. Larger guns, maybe it will be a little bit more flush. Smaller guns, as long as we're talking about this, can you put it on a smaller gun? No, you cannot, is the answer, but let me show you. Here's my M&P Compact. The rail is much shorter there, and you can see that where the mount is, it's not going to fit. It's not going to work on a smaller gun. So you're going to need to put this on a larger gun like this full-size M&P. The user interface is actuated by the two buttons here on the rear. It's ambidextrous. The buttons function the same on both sides. It has both momentary and it will stay on. So momentary, just by long pressing it there, and if you tap it, it will stay on. Momentary, tap, very easy. And you can do that on either side, momentary or tap it to stay on. And like I said, the beam pattern on this, it's a very nice broad beam, and that momentary is nice if you're going to sweep into a room. I like the fact that the user interface on this is so simple. There's one mode. It will eventually ramp down to that 427 lumens, but one mode and very straightforward use. So I do like that about it. Now, some drawbacks about this light. It's large. It's not going to fit on some smaller guns. It's definitely a larger light. And where those buttons are, depending on the size of your hands and how you're going to use it, if you're going to do this, it's kind of a stretch. I have medium-sized hands, and to get out there, you know, obviously you can turn it on and then go back to shooting if you're going to do it that way, but you're not going to be able to do momentary. You're not going to want to do momentary sweeping a room with your shooting finger. On the other hand, you can actuate it with your thumb on this side as you're sweeping a room. I do have some concern though as far as accuracy, that because you have to push the light to turn it on, and this is going to be a bit of an over-exaggeration, I apologize for kind of pointing this at you, but look, the gun is empty, and I'm pretty sure you're protected by your computer screen. Pretty sure. I'll point it away from you. So I'm concerned that as you press on this, that depending on the distance to your target, and this is going to be an exaggeration, you can, again, an exaggeration, but you can push the gun over as you're actuating it. So it's going to take some practicing with to make sure that your dot is staying in the same place, but I think in the heat of the moment, you could get a little bit of kind of like jerking the trigger equivalent pressing it on and moving the barrel a little bit. So I am more fond of the lights where you press down a little bit and it's a pretty light actuation. Also, it is a bit of a reach. If you have a good thumbs forward shooting grip like this, you can get out there with your thumb. It's not that bad. With repeated use, I get a little bit of pressure on my index finger here because you're kind of pushing between the two of these in this kind of motion to get a little grip to turn it on. So with repeated use, if you're taking this in a class, for instance, your index finger may get a little sore. Again, it's a small nitpick, but it is something to note. One other downside is that when the light is on the gun, the charging port is blocked by the trigger guard. So you have to take the light off to charge it. Not a huge deal. Also, there's that light that comes on to give you the charging status when you turn the light on when you use it. But that light is blocked by the trigger guard on both sides. So you can't really see what the charging status is. And that light is not that bright anyway, unless you're in the dark, in which case you can see it. So overall, not a bad light for the money. It's a nice light. It puts out a lot of light. It puts out a nice broad beam, which I do like. I like the simple user interface of momentary and full on. However, some downsides, it's kind of a large light. The way the button is, you got to put a little bit of pressure on it. And it is a little bit far forward, especially if you have small to medium sized hands to reach it. And your index finger, on the other hand, is going to be even harder to get to it. Won't fit on a smaller gun, such as an M&P Compact. So some pluses and minuses for this light, but for the money, it's not a bad light. So if you're looking for something in this category, check out the Thrunite TW10.